I'm not asking anybody to follow or like my page. It's never been about that. And I not once in 7 years have ever asked anybody to like or follow my page. I've asked for shares because this is all about awareness. And this is not just about my wife Lucy. There are others that I voluntarily provide support for, online, face-to-face, advocacy, advice, mediation, referrals, all relating to incidents of poor care and neglect in the health and social care system. I have got GNS Press accreditation as a freelance journalist, although if you've read the page you will see that I'm not ethical. I've kind of learnt my lesson from that in one sense since my second arrest by Gloucestershire Constabulary for speaking the truth. I've been very raw. I haven't held back, but the seriousness of the situation, I think, has warranted that. As I say, since my last arrest, I've calmed down a bit and haven't been quite so descriptive about what I consider to be the perpetrators of neglect, abuse and concealing of such. Now, much of my voluntary side of what I do consists of receiving from families extremely distressing and mostly secretly recorded videos and audio recordings to which they have a legal right. Now, this is whether it's in a hospital, care home, doesn't make a difference. The professionals can't do this. If you're a relative or a patient or a resident in any care setting, you have a legal right to record. Look it up. You have. I've got this first hand from a human rights lawyer. But most of what I get irrefutably evidences avoidable failures, neglect and abuse that families UK-wide and abroad experience. An astonishing number of complainees have been met with gaslighting techniques, false allegations, care home and hospital bans if they continue to complain. And frequently they don't have these concerns seriously taken. So they've got justified cause to complain again and again and again. Now, when they've gone through all the correct channels, even escalated to Care Quality Commission, they will inform them that we don't investigate individual complaints or concerns. They can't be investigated because they don't investigate individual ones. Local authority, yes, sometimes they do. I assume it depends on the caseload and your credibility. But once you've been labelled by those you complain about, your credibility goes downhill. You're nothing. You're a liar. You make things up. You exaggerate. You're aggressive. You're intimidating. No. I know that's sometimes the case. I get that. But this is why you have to record, because this will evidence your behaviour. Now, you might not get that evidence heard, but you have a legal right to publish that on the internet that's your property, you can do it. Doesn't matter whether it names somebody, that is your legal right. It is. Now, we've had a 7-year campaign for a duty of care to be upheld in the health and social care sector, including care regulators, for perpetrators to face consequences as opposed to lack of transparency, widespread organisational protection. We want improvements, we want transparency, and we want honesty. Now, since I've spoken to BBC Panorama and Channel 4 Dispatches, and had contact with Michael Buchanan, senior journalist from BBC, this has escalated. NHS are fully aware that the evidence that I actually hold would bring widespread public scrutiny, and therefore it's in their interest to prevent any of this being publicised. Now, during the past 7 years, I've identified and publicly shared videos and audio recordings that irrefutably evidence cases of, as I've said, nonfeasance, malfeasance and malpractice from care homes, nursing homes, community care, domiciliary care companies, adult social care, and sadly even the NHS and mental health hospitals in various UK locations. And I've worked on some of the stuff that has actually been, widespread media. I'm still in contact with some of the whistleblowers from various. I've published a recent batch, not all yet, of 2023 from 2023 videos before my wife Lucy died. They're audio recordings that irrefutably evidence continued poor care and treatment, verbal untruths and covert behaviour from Gloucestershire medical professionals. Some of those have been publicly identified. Now that's my material. As I've said, I had a legal right. And Gloucestershire Constabulary, you will know this. What you should do. You should do. It's no use you dealing with a small-time firm from Tewkesbury to do your work for you, because, as far as I remember, they're actually who the council use. We've beaten those before. Following my rejected complaint to Gloucestershire Constabulary in respect of their flat refusal to investigate police misconduct relating to 2 seizures of property from my house, including my power of attorney, court of protection documents, papers from a big file like this. Why do Gloucestershire Constabulary want those? They've taken complaints letters or copies of complaints letters that I've written. They've taken some photos that we had of Lucy. They've taken every internet device, I think 3 laptops, possibly 3 or 4 phones, at least 3, Alexa, the Wi-Fi router, you name it. The monitor,
to use it,
even,
you will need to
that
go
we
to the
used
Alexa
to
app
monitor
to link your
Lucy
account and complete
overnight.
setup.
Now, with that gone, nobody could hear Lucy crying out the night she died. She was calling out for an hour and 20 minutes. Nobody could hear her because the police had taken that monitor. It's just like a baby monitor. Why would they take that?
Playing from desktop MTH1
Anyway.
is 9.
I'll try and be focused. I just want to thank you, Laura Eagling, for doing what you've done. I want to thank everybody on LinkedIn that has and will support me in this. I want to thank the legal professionals that no, they haven't got time and I can't afford to pay for their services. I want to thank those for advice that they're handing over. And I want to thank any followers that have and will share some of what is published. There haven't been many. Disappointing, but it is what it is. You know, everybody's got their own incidents, etc. Now, Gloucestershire Constabulary, in my opinion, have collaborated with Gloucestershire NHS Legal Department. They've gone beyond the Crown Prosecution Service remit. The police have instructed Tewkesbury-based litigation solicitor's office, One Legal, to apply specifically in the county court for an injunction order to prevent exposure, future and current, of professional neglect. Again, I'm going to say the words malpractice, malfeasance, nonfeasance, and, in my opinion, gross negligence, manslaughter of Lucy, because she was seriously failed. Even the day that she was discharged, that was on the day that a GP, and I have the recording, told me that the initial results for a urine culture came back as high infection. Cheltenham General Hospital still discharged Lucy. I'm probably going to get arrested after this, and to be honest, I'm bricking it doing this, but watch my mouth. The officers that actually delivered the court summons by hand the other day, I've got no beef with those at all. They were really polite, seemed impartial apart from obviously their professional duty. No beef with them whatsoever. It's just the questionable senior decision makers that have told them what to do. Why do NHS, aka Gloucestershire Police, want an injunction order to gag me? The proposed injunction order would, and I quote, forbid posting on social media site or by any other means images or words which will cause or are likely to cause harassment, we'll get to that in a minute, or alarm or distress. They want to forbid producing any written or visual article of any kind which will or is likely to cause, there's the word, harassment, or alarm or distress. Now, if you see something on the news, something on a TV programme, a movie, or you read about something in a newspaper or online, that it may be, or I don't know, a dog that's been beaten, starved, etc. It might be a documentary about physically abused people and their injuries, mental health abuse. Of course it's going to be alarming. It's going to be distressing. If people weren't distressed or alarmed, by that, what does that say about humanity? Of course it's distressing. Why do they want to stop me, lawfully prevent me from publishing anything or talking about anything publicly that somebody may or may not find alarming or distressing? I wouldn't be allowed to use distressing or alarming words. Now, that would kind of set a precedence for anybody else in a similar situation. Every county would be on this. That's a fact. Every county, because if the NHS get this, if your family member gets in a similar situation, you're going to be silenced. You'll be silenced because the precedent has been set. Is that the right word? Much of what I've published is covered by Article 10 human rights on my side. And the individuals from NHS that I have already named would need to sue me themselves to get civil injunctions against me. Apparently I'm being told that the way that the police, aka NHS, are going about it, wouldn't legally cover it. So why have they chosen to take this action in a civil court? It's a tactical move. 1, they know I don't stand a chance of securing free legal representation in a civil court, albeit I think I may have found a way. I've been completing the forms, everything this morning. I've maybe another half an hour to do so. I'll get them sent off. 2, they know I don't have the money to pay for legal representation. They know that if they were to pursue this injunction in a magistrate's court as a criminal case of harassment or malicious communications, I will plead not guilty, 100%. Therefore, that would give me the lawful right not just to get legal aid and a human rights barrister, but also to have every single piece, or most of it, of my audio and video evidence against Gloucestershire NHS heard and seen in a court. Now, whether the court would put a prohibition on, I can't remember the word for it, but a prohibition so that it couldn't be heard publicly or not, I don't know. Some of what I have isn't even yet in public domain. It's in a safe house. A lot of it has already been uploaded because I upload it as I get it, and I'm not going to ask anybody to press the button to make everything public. I daren't do that because, you know, they'll send me to hell, won't they? But they've also completed this application for the injunction with the end date of the proposed injunction order and police powers of arrest as 2026. They haven't put a month.
Shut it!
You can bet your ass that they will ask for December 2026, because that will be the cut-off year, the limitation period that you have to pursue a legal case for medical neglect. And with the evidence that I have, I'm in no doubt whatsoever that Lucy did die from gross negligence manslaughter, which the police are actually refusing to investigate. Gross negligence manslaughter is a criminal offence. The police do have a duty. I have complained to the police and to the IOPC. They've sent it back to Gloucestershire, who I'm actually complaining about. They're refusing to even look at my complaint. Well, we know why, don't we? The answer is because I'm published the truth, and when the truth can be evidence as truthful and factual, it is not malicious and it is not harassing. You know, I don't want to upset anybody. That's not my intention. My intention is public awareness. You know, if you didn't have public awareness, there's no scrutinisation of these people. This is what it's about. Wrongdoings need scrutinisation. There needs to be accountability for the lack of transparency, the lies and the deceit and the false allegations. When I've posted things, a lot of it, as I've said, have been unethical. The intention is to raise awareness in public interest by campaigning to get care regulators, etc., and the law to address incidents of neglect and abuse, avoidable neglect and abuse. I understand that mistakes happen, I fully get that, but when it is avoidable, somebody needs to be held to account, not protected by the organisations like the bullying culture of the NHS. When health and care professionals and care regulators disregard concerns, they're the ones that are breaching human rights. Our objective was not, and certainly is not, to harass or distress those people that we have exposed, because it is exposure, and if they feel distressed or harassed, it's my firm belief that they feel like that because they're so embarrassed to be in the public spotlight for what they've done, what is evidenced that they've done and said. And the public have a right to know what kind of care they can expect from those particular care workers, health and care workers, in any given sector. That is public interest. You, the public, have a right to know who or what you may be dealing with. But health and care neglect and abuse of vulnerable disabled people, especially those with comorbidities, appear to be forbidden subjects in the eyes of Gloucestershire Constabulary and Gloucestershire NHS. The NHS across the country, I think. I've already said that the police are refusing even to investigate my allegations of gross negligence manslaughter of Lucy. They have a duty to investigate. And furthermore, it is a criminal offence for officers of the law to collaborate with, to aid, abet, counsel or procure Gloucestershire health and care professionals in an attempt to prevent an investigation which would undoubtedly reveal evidence of unlawful, do not attempt to resuscitate orders improperly implemented deprivation of liberty restraint authorisations, and actually improperly implemented respect forms. You as a family, for your loved one, and especially if you're power of attorney, and the patient, have to be involved in those discussions leading up to it. The respect form, that's your form. That is supposed to list your feelings and your wishes regarding medical care. They cannot do that behind your back. I think I've already been here about the officers coming into my house on 2 occasions, seizing what they have, refusing to even give a list of what they've taken, flatly refusing on 2 occasions. That strongly suggests an even more stronger indication that they could be breaching various sections of Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984. They could also be breaching the Criminal Procedure and Investigation Act and rules in the manner that they were supposed to investigate gross negligence manslaughter. Not just that, but also from the 4th of August arrest, where an allegation was made against me. If you're on the page, you will have read about it. An allegation was made against me that I had allegedly inserted a finger into either Lucy's bottom or vagina whilst doing personal care. That's what I was told by police officers. Now, when I asked, when is this supposed to happen, my first words, if I remember correctly, were, I know they would do something to shut me up, but I didn't think they'd go as far as this, and I really didn't. Now, they told me that I thought that the police told me that it happened on 23rd or 24th of July, which was 2 or 3 days before Lucy was discharged from Cheltenham. But apparently the duty solicitor said no, it was supposed to have happened on the 17th of July. That's when I started complaining about poor care. Lucy had, for almost 48 hours, been on a flat air mattress. And it wasn't until, I think, more than 24 hours that one of the nurses did get it changed. It was still getting flat, so that was rectified. Okay, that's a mistake. But that first 24 hours was crucial for Lucy. And it should have been done way before it was. Within that 24 hours, not afterwards, because she had a grade 4 pressure ulcer, hospital acquired, from Gloucester Royal Hospital, that was getting rapidly worse. What made that worse was the fact that trained medical staff were using patches so small that the adhesive border of those patches was actually sticking to the open wound, making it worse. Another factor is Lucy was consistently left for longer than she should have been in soiled and wet pads. Now, if you think of a baby with a nappy, when they've soiled themselves, if it's not firm, it's going to like squash everywhere. Now, somebody with a pressure ulcer and inadequate medical dressings on that ulcer that are just peeling off because they haven't even been put on right. They're not even stuck to the skin or in the sacrum. You've got faeces and urine going in there. That's making it worse. Now, I complained about this. Now, the first I knew of 17th of July was when the police officers told me. So Lucy was in this particular hospital from 16th of July. 16th of July, moved there from Gloucester in readiness for a nephrostomy because she was up for a kidney stone operation, and here we go, going on again. Now, those kidney stones she's had for a minimum of 7 years. They've been painful for almost that long, but only just decided that, it might be the kidney stones causing urosepsis. Well, she also had some kind of fistula that would lose faeces from the lady bits. I've evidenced that to doctors. At one point there were some small-time investigations, like, was it a 6-hour tampon test or something like that? Now, this was sporadic, but it always coincided every single time that she had urosepsis. Every single time. Now, when she was given IV antibiotics, so I'm smiling now because this leads me on to something associated but not bullet pointed. When she was given antibiotics, the antibiotics, in my opinion, would fight against this sporadic fecal leakage that was causing, along with the kidney stones, and don't forget stomach ulcers for, God knows how many years, but specifically the kidney stones on this fecal leakage would fight against the antibiotics. Lucy would initially improve, start to smile. She was asymptomatic. I've got that on recordings so many times where especially the GPs have acknowledged that. I'm not going to name where or who with the GPs, because the only beef at the moment that I've got with them is that they're refusing medical records alongside of Gloucestershire NHS. Anyway, let's get back to this allegation. Now, 17th of July I started complaining about poor care, pissy, pooey pads, etc. They weren't feeding her, they weren't brushing her hair, hardly ever brushing her teeth, and I fully get that Lucy was not very compliant. Now, she had very poor cognitive impairment, but it was so bad at this point because the effects of the urosepsis, that just drains anybody's mental, cognitive abilities and physical. So obviously she would be worse. She needed much more time. Now, I get that they were short-staffed. I fully get that. But it doesn't take a minute to go back. Oh, you're refusing, are you, Lucy? Okay, I'll come back in a minute. Or I'll try and encourage you. Now, with Lucy, you had to
Playing
use
from
things
desktop
like,
MTH1 is
your
9.
eyes, aren't they blue? Haven't you got nice long blonde hair? Haven't you got a nice smile? That would make her smile. That would perk her up a bit. She'd eat some food. She'd have a drink. She would take her medication. If you're not going to speak to a person basically with dementia in that kind of encouraging and participating way, they're not going to do a damn thing for you. It's common, basic, common sense. That wasn't getting done. And here I am drifting off, but I'm going to get on the subject. Better be quiet, please. So I've got 2 rescue Dobermans. So from the 16th to the 26th of July, I continued providing personal care for Lucy. There was a retained healthcare familiar care worker that had cared for Lucy, 3 or 4 years. She was also coming into the hospital, not just to help me, but to be there when I wasn't as well, to lessen the risk of this neglect. I'll turn it, Josh. Nobody can see you, don't worry. To lessen the risk of the neglect. From the 17th, well, actually probably more like from the morning of the 17th, there was just a horrible air after I'd spoken to a ward sister and complained about this poor care. Prior to that, on the 16th, I was complimenting staff, everything. But it just suddenly turned hostile. And this was fairly early. So I carried on doing Lucy's personal care, feed her, brush her hair, teeth, everything like that. When she would let me, Sarah kept coming in. It wasn't long before staff started talking about, and especially, I can't say, they started talking about discharging Lucy because we saw her smile. Myself and the carer objected against discharge because Lucy was not medically fit at all. She was deteriorating. She'd had the nephrostomy. I can't remember off the top of my head the date, but I asked the two consultants and a less senior clinician not to discharge Lucy until they had got results from a urine culture to show that infection had been eradicated. They flatly refused. Said, well, you know, we've done bloods. I said, yeah, but listen, I said, I'm not arguing with you, but bloods have been taken time and time again for the past probably 10 years that very often have come back not too concerning. Occasionally not concerning at all, but within hours she's had sepsis, infection-induced seizures, rushed into hospital, sometimes within literally, as I say, hours of somebody saying, no, she's okay, her bloods are fine. This has happened so many times. I probably had more hot dinners than that many times. But they wouldn't listen, as normal. I got accused of, as usual, not taking medical advice. All I wanted them to do, which I voiced, please look at her medical history. It will evidence, look at the community notes as well from district nurses, rapid response, GPs. You'll see how often you have made the wrong decision. You've been wrong. Now, if they want to take that as I'm undermining them, I'm sorry, but that's not my problem. My problem is that they kept doing the same thing time and time again. So we got this urine culture. The morning of 26th of July, I believe it was, when she was discharged, had the GP on the phone telling me initial indications, high infection. I had the phone on speaker, took it to staff so they could hear this GP. I was accused by a less than senior consultant, or she wasn't, the person wasn't a consultant, but you get the drift. She was insinuating that, how do we know that urine is even Lucy's, belongs to Lucy? You know, as if I'm going to pee in it, take it to the lab, and the results come back as mine. I didn't have a urine infection. I wasn't the one with a urine infection. I wasn't the one about to be unsafely discharged again. So they carried on. They did send Lucy home. That night she had seizures. She's not epileptic, by the way. This only ever happens with like severe infections, and when she's got this sporadic fecal leakage. We've had rapid response out, GPs, paramedics. She had IV antibiotics at home. They'd sent her home still with an incredibly high and damaging infection. They would not acknowledge. So you can see where I'm going with this. It's the conflict and the fact that from the 17th of July until the 26th of July, nobody attempted to prevent me or prevented me or our carer, Sarah the carer, from doing Lucy's personal care in hospital. She was then sent home into my care on the very late afternoon on 26th of July. My care at home as usual, carry on, feed her, everything, brush her teeth, personal care, the works. The evening of 4th of August I was arrested. The 5th of August, when I was interviewed, was told of this allegation. Well, it wasn't even an allegation. It's a half. We think he may have. We think he may have. Okay, where's the credibility in that? Who said it? Nobody seemed to know. My point is, between the 17th of July, when this is supposed to have happened, and by the way, our carer, Sarah, was in the room non-stop all the time, especially, and more to the point, specifically even at the time that this is supposed to have happened. She's refuted that in a statement. I was speaking to her yesterday. It's bullcrap. It's meant to shut me up. Now, I know I've gone off track, and I apologise for that. But this is just how it is. It's very important to me, and I'm sure it would be to you, if this happened to you or yours. It's not right. It's certainly not right. All I'm asking for is just have a look on Carers Want Competence Facebook page. You'll know which one it is. It's not the Carers Want Competence UK group. It's Carers Want Competence. You'll see a picture of my late grandmother dressed in a military jacket, holding her, and it's not a real rifle, police, holding a rifle from one of my boys had when they were kids. What I'm asking you to do is, if you'll please sign and share that petition. If you had time, I would also appreciate it if you added a comment to the petition. There is an option for that. And I'll reiterate, I'm not asking anybody to like or follow my page, but without awareness of this situation, of this injunction order, and that is the thing that's at the forefront of my mind, the injunction preventing even the use of words that some people may or may not find distressing or alarming. I'm not bothered about the harassment because there wasn't any. I've repeatedly posted about certain people. Again, this is all about awareness in the public interest. If mainstream media are following a case or something like this, you know, and it's updated all the time or whatever, but you'll see this many times. This is no different. It's about raising awareness. And if an issue isn't or hasn't been resolved, it's still an issue. You know, it is still an issue. I just don't know what else to say. Apart from the other thing, another day. Now, I haven't got, I've got some grey in my hair, but I haven't got a grey beard. I don't wear a red coat, and I haven't got white grey hair. A friend of mine, Keith Smith, was protesting outside on public property, Cheltenham General Hospital. They called the police on him. They told the police that it was me. Keith just stands there with his placard. People come up and talk to him. He lost both his parents by medical neglect, and actually relating to his mother, a GP and a technical colleague or somebody, they were actually sleeping out in the car after they gave his mother midazolam, to which Keith told them before they did it that it's detrimental for her. I can't remember the wording, but she's got some kind of allergy. She has a bad reaction from it. Please don't give it to her. The GP did. And then he went outside sleeping in his car. GHNFT, they're not playing ball with that. This is the kind of people that you're dealing with. And then we could go on to the likes of Wooton Lawn, couldn't we? I know families, I've met with some that, that their loved ones have committed suicide, harmed themselves. Even an HCA actually gave Laura Davis the carrier bag that her life ended with. I don't think that's actually in mainstream media. That's been omitted, but you'll know that often some things are omitted. What I'm trying to get across to you guys is that it is important. It could happen to you. It could happen to somebody that, whether your family, your friend, you don't know. Now, most people have an elderly relative. If you have, okay, they might be fit and fine, healthy, but if they're not, and they need some kind of care, treatment, support. They are a liability to the NHS. They're a liability to local authority, especially if the care or support is funded by local authority. There seems to be a culture of these people aren't important. They've got comorbidities. They've got a poor quality of life, which is what they kept saying about Lucy. But they were based that specifically at times when she had urosepsis. Duh! Come on! There are plenty of videos on Carers Want Competence page and on my own, Mike Mazzaros profile, evidencing Lucy's quality of life when she wasn't suffering from urosepsis or aspirated pneumonia from hospital staff giving her drinks while she's lying down, feeding her while she's lying down. Of course you're going to get aspirated pneumonia. But that will be another subject. Listen, if you have sat there and listened to all this, thank you. I would appreciate some awareness on this. I just would. You know, this is a dire situation. I don't care one tiny bit about the harassment allegation that's going into civil court. I can evidence it's not harassment. I can evidence that it's not malicious communications. I can evidence that it's in public interest. I can evidence the reasons why these people would want to prevent publications. If anybody does know a solicitor that would be willing to take this on, the hearing is supposed to be on the 18th of June at Gloucester County Court, Kimbrose Way. On Monday, I'm going to try to get it, and I'm not going to say the grounds. I'm going to try and get it adjourned. They have no reason not to adjourn it because I have to be able to represent myself or provide a defence. Now, I was given less than 7 working days notice. I need legal representation. If you know anybody, like I say, it's a 30-minute hearing. I don't know if I can, if I can't get an adjournment. I don't know if I can get legal aid. As far as I'm aware, I can't. There is a exceptional circumstances form that I'm completing, but I don't think that will be back in time or even looked at in time for the 18th. If you know somebody in a legal position that is willing to help me, I have got some money that I can pay them. I've certainly got enough to pay for that 30-minute hearing and probably a consultation to put them up to speed, etc. Then just please let me know. Thank you for listening, and in the hope that you do actually share this, I thank you for that. And once again, thank you, Laura Eagling. Thank you very much for what you're doing. I know I'm forgetting to name everybody else that has been really, are being really supportive, and I apologise for that, but you know who you are. Thank you.